I want you to remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. Who won it? By making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country.
In 1942, he stepped forth like some warrior of old to lead and inspire vast forces of men. At a pace never equaled, his Third Army swept across the continent of Europe. No American leader was more colorful and more successful. General George S. Patton, Jr., dedicated to glory and the victory that was won. The name, the symbol, the victories, our history. It's not easy to believe that George S. Patton, Jr. was once just Georgie. From his earliest years, this lad believed he was going to be General George S. Patton, Jr. His imagination was stirred by stories of great heroes of the past, told by his father. His military career began at VMI. At West Point, he proved himself a model cadet, although, like Washington and Napoleon, he could not spell. Rarely from this time on would Georgie flash this attractive smile.
Patton was born November 11, 1885, and died December 21st, 1945. He was a general of the United States Army who commanded the 7th Army in the Mediterranean theater of World War II. Then he commanded the 3rd Army in France and Germany after the Allied invasion of Normandy in June 1944. Born in 1885, Patton attended the Virginia Military Institute and the United States Military Academy at West Point. He studied fencing and designed the M1913 Cavalry Saber, more commonly known as the Patton Saber. He competed in the modern pentathlon in the 1912 Summer Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden. Patton entered combat during the Pancho Villa Expedition of 1916, the United States' first military action using motor vehicles. He fought in World War I as part of the new United States Tank Corps of the American Expeditionary Forces. He commanded the U.S. Tank School in France, then led tanks into combat and was wounded near the end of the war. In the interwar period, Patton became a central figure in the development of Army's armored warfare doctrine, serving in numerous staff positions throughout the country. At the United States entry into World War II, he commanded the 2nd Armored Division. Patton led U.S. troops in the Mediterranean theater with an invasion of Casablanca during the Operation Torch in 1942, and soon established himself as effective commander by rapidly rehabilitating the demoralized 2nd Corps. He commanded the U.S. 7th Army during the Allied invasion of Sicily, where he was the first Allied commander to reach Messina. There, he was embroiled in controversy after he slapped 2 shell-shocked soldiers and was temporarily removed from battlefield command. He was assigned a key role in the Operation Fortitude, the Allies' military deception campaign for Operation Overlord. At the start of the Western Allied invasion of France, Patton was given command of the 3rd Army, which conducted a highly successful rapid armored drive across France. Under his decisive leadership, the 3rd Army took the lead in relieving beleaguered American troops at Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge, after which his forces drove deep into Nazi Germany at the end of the war. During the Allied occupation of Germany, Patton was named military governor of Bavaria, but was relieved for making aggressive statements towards the Soviet Union and questioning the denazification. He commanded the United States 5th Army for slightly more than 2 months. Patton's colorful image, hard-driving personality, and success as a commander were at times overshadowed by his controversial public statements. His philosophy of leading from the front and his ability to inspire troops with attention-getting vulgarity, latent speeches. such as his famous address to the Third Army, was received favorably by his troops, but was less so by the sharply divided Allied High Command. His sending a doomed task force bomb to liberate his son-in-law, Lieutenant Colonel John K. Waters, from a prisoner of war camp further damaged his standing with his superiors. His emphasis on rapid and aggressive offensive actions proved effective, and he was regarded highly by his opponents in the German High Command. An award-winning biographical film released in 1970 titled Patton helped popularize his image. George Smith Patton Jr. was born on November 11, 1885, in the Los Angeles suburb of San Gabriel, California, to George Smith Patton Sr. and his wife, Ruth Wilson, the daughter of Benjamin Davis Wilson, the second mayor of Los Angeles, and Margaret Hereford, a widow from Virginia. The wealthy Patton family resided in Lake Vineyard, built by Benjamin Wilson, on 128 acres in present-day Santa Marina, California. Patton had a younger sister named Annie, nicknamed Nita. Nita became engaged to General John J. Pershing, Patton's mentor, in 1917. But the engagement ended because of their separation during Pershing's time in France during World War I. As a child, Patton had difficulty learning to read and write, but eventually overcame this and was known in his adult life to be an avid reader. He was tutored from home until the age of 11, when he was enrolled in Stephen Cutter Clark's Classical School for Boys, a private school in Pasadena. Patton was described as an intelligent boy and was widely read in classical military history, particularly the exploits of Hannibal, Scipio Africanus, Julius Caesar, Joan of Arc, and Napoleon Bonaparte, as well as those of family friend John Singleton Mosby, who frequently stopped by Patton family home when George was a child. He was also a devoted horseback rider. Patton's first position was the 15th Cavalry, Fort Sheridan, Illinois, where he established himself as a diligent leader who impressed his superior with his dedication. In late 1911, Patton was transferred to Fort Myer, Virginia, where many of his Army senior leaders were stationed. Befriending Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson, Patton served as his aide at a social function on the top of his regular duties as quartermaster for his troops. For his skill in running and fencing, Patton was selected as the Army's entry for the first modern pentathlon at the 1912 Olympic Games in Stockholm, Sweden. Despite all his military accomplishments, his controversial statements and actions were his undoing. He was passed over and not considered for higher positions due to his many enemies he created with his sharp tongue that included racist and anti-Semite comments and sentiments. He was a soldier of old and not comfortable with succumbing to others. He hid his PTSD and fear while in combat with his bravado. He did what he thought was right for his country, his men, and for his military career, and he did it his way. And to the hell what others thought in his chain of command. And that chain went to the highest office of the government, the President of the United States. He was brash, tough, smart, a great military strategist, but a pain in the spurs for his friends, brass, his soldiers, and his command. His bravado and his mouth were his downfall. He had many wealthy and influential friends inside and outside of politics and the military establishment that protected him and provided cover for his actions. Until 1945, when his close friends slowly started to abandon him for fear of his actions staining their careers. Many believe that his untimely death was due to his bridge burning, and a conspiracy was devised to bring him down, but the injuries were worse than they expected. After so many wars and conflicts, he passed away from injuries sustained in an auto accident, and he was the only one out of 4 people involved to do so. His body was cremated prior to a full autopsy, and he was buried among his Third Army soldiers in Luxembourg.
You seated? An army is a team. It lives, eats, sleeps, fights as a team. This individuality stuff's a bunch of crap. The bilious bastards who wrote that stuff about individuality for the Saturday Evening Post don't know anything more about real battle than they do about fornicating. Now we have the finest food and equipment, the best spirit, and the best men in the world. You know, by God, I actually pity those poor bastards we're going up against. By God, I do. We're not just going to shoot the bastards. We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder those lousy Hun bastards by the bushel. Now, some of you boys, I know, are wondering whether or not you'll chicken out under fire. Don't worry about it. I can assure you that you will all do your duty. The Nazis are the enemy. Wade into them. Spill their blood. Shoot them in the belly. When you put your hand into a bunch of goo that a moment before was your best friend's face, you know what to do. Now, there's another thing I want you to remember. I don't want to get any messages saying that we are holding our position. We're not holding anything. Let the Hun do that. We are advancing constantly, and we're not interested in holding on to anything except the enemy. We're going to hold on to him by the nose, and we're going to kick him in the ass. We're going to kick the hell out of him all the time, and we're going to go through him like crap through a goose. Now, there's one thing that you men will be able to say when you get back home. And you may thank God for it. 30 years from now, when you're sitting around your fireside with your grandson on your knee, and he asks you, what did you do in the Great World War II? You won't have to say, well, I shoveled shit in Louisiana. All right, now you sons of bitches, you know how I feel. Well, I will be proud to lead you wonderful guys into battle anytime, anywhere. That's all.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification icon for the latest videos as they are released. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.